Today's series forum is sponsored by AEP and Battelle. The forum is also sponsored by Columbia Gas and is presented in partnership with the OSU Office of Energy and Environment. Please join me in thanking our sponsors. Information about the speakers at today's forum is in your flyer, so I'll provide only a brief introduction. Originally, our panel was to include John Pass, Director of the Energy Star Program's residential branch at the Environmental Protection Agency, but the federal government shutdown didn't end soon enough for him to be able to travel here. While we would have liked for John to have joined us, I'm very pleased to introduce this knowledgeable panel. Our first speaker is a senior associate with ICF International. He's also a lead technical developer in support of the EPA Energy Star Certified Homes program. Please welcome Rick Gazica. Our next speaker is a partner with P&D Builders, a full-service custom design and Energy Star home builder. Please welcome Mac Roberts. Our next speaker is president of Cornerstone Energy Conservation Services, one of the nation's largest home energy rating service provider firms. Please welcome Randy Hall. Joining the panel as host and moderator is an energy research specialist with the College of Engineering at The Ohio State University and also the senior energy advisor with the Office of Energy and Environment. Please welcome Scott Potter. Scott, the floor is yours.
Actually, I think we're going to start. Rick's going to give us a few thoughts from ICF.
Thanks, Scott. Yep. Thanks, everybody, for coming. I've been out here now for 3 days attending a utility sponsor conference. So both Columbia Gas and AEP had put on a conference for all the utilities throughout the country. So Columbus is an amazing town. It's my first time here. I had a lot of fun in the Short North area, so I appreciate you guys having us in. So what I want to talk about with you guys today, the Energy Star Certified Homes program and kind of where it came from. Energy Star started back in the mid-90s, and its goal is actually to reduce carbon throughout the atmosphere. And it's being done by having builders build highly efficient homes. And it really didn't connect for me much. Whenever I'm selling the program to builders, it's selling them a better house, a more high efficient house so that they can give their customers. But at the conference we're at, Dr. Lonnie Thompson from Ohio State had come in and given us a presentation and talked about all of his ice cores, which was awesome. And it was a great time, but to see the impact that we have running this program, that it's not just building a better house for customers, it's also impacting the environment and helping a higher standard above and beyond that. So it really hit home that, you know, not only we have energy efficiency for the utilities, a better house for the customers, but really helping out the planet overall. So with that being said, I'll pass it back over to Scott. Appreciate it again, and looking forward to the talk.
Thanks, Rick. I want to thank our panelists for joining us today. And in sort of the interest of full disclosure, I want to point out that Mac Roberts actually built my house 10 years ago. And at that time, P&D was a custom home builder, didn't necessarily specialize in energy efficiency. And I came along and I was a pain in his neck. And I said, no, I want it this way. No, I want cellulose this way. No, I want the 2x6s. No, I want those offset. No, I want this extended beyond the attic line. I am thrilled to see that they're building those homes today better than the home I built. But I'm also going to make my own plug. I just just got my energy bill. I'm on the AEP home reporting program, and my home was number 1 of the 100 that are in my category. So energy efficiency works. These guys know that, but I'm going to ask them to create a little bit of controversy today so we can talk about why it is we're here today talking about energy efficient homes. You know, this all started in the 70s. We've known for a really long time that energy efficiency was almost as good as cash. Your gas bill, your electric bill are things you must spend. But if I spend 100 instead of 150, I have 50 more in cash. We've known that for a long time. So why is the notion of an energy efficient home still very much a novelty? Why are we still needing to promote it? Why do we talk about things like we're going to talk about today of Energy Star being above code? You know, why is, if Energy Star is the target, why isn't it that the target? Why do we still talk today about above code? So with that, I sent some preliminary questions to our panelists, everybody but Rick, so I'm going to let him go last. But I want to give them each, and I'm going to limit them. I told them, if you were standing before all federal, state, municipal, and local lawmakers, and you could change one thing, you had ultimate power to convince them to do or undo one thing regarding energy efficient homes, what would it be? So I'm going to start down the end with Randy.
Okay. That's a wide question, and it offers a lot of possible answers, but if I had to choose one, I believe that right now, the way the economy is set up and the way that houses are funded, there's no credit for energy efficiency as far as qualifying for a mortgage. So if we build a highly efficient home that has very little to no energy use, the mortgage company and the mortgage industry values that home is exactly the same as a home that's built down the road that has high energy use. So we really need a political answer to this, which is allowing the mortgage industry to value that as part of the loan approval process.
Allowing or requiring?
I would opt for requiring.
Mac?
You know, good question. A little bit more on to the point of the Energy Star program, which I wish our speaker was able to, or our main speaker was able to make it here, but since our government decided to shut down, he was not able to. But one of the things I would ask him, a lot of my competitors use advertising to say they are an Energy Star builder. And I think it confuses the public to say, what does an Energy Star builder mean? And I'd like to really push to have that more of a push on the Energy Star side to say Energy Star certified builder, because you put one appliance in that's Energy Star qualified, and a lot of my competition says they're an Energy Star builder, as opposed to the steps that our company goes through, which are quite extensive, to be able to get that certification.
I would like to see energy efficiency be as sexy as renewable energy. That would be my thing. So my wife doesn't even care about what I do. And when I'm playing with the thermostat and trying to talk about, hey, we should put in this LED light, and she says, why, babe? And so I wish there was a way that I could influence consumers and educate them to understand what their impact actually is. And so if we had a consumer that had all of the knowledge of many of the people in here as our consumer base, that would be what I would change, is that it'd be mandatory for you to understand what energy efficiency is.
I like that, a mandatory education requirement that energy be taught as sexy. That seems to work for me. One of the questions that we talked about before we started here was sort of the difference between Energy Star, a well-developed program. It sort of started with the appliance, sort of started with CRT, computer terminals, and then moved up to appliances. Now, I think we're fortunate enough to say it's at the home, it's at the building level, so you were getting to actually have a whole system, because as Mac pointed out, you can put one, two, you can fill your house full of appliances that say Energy Star, energy efficient, but the house may still be a problem. So one of the things I'm going to ask the panelists to talk about is sort of what's within the realm of a target that we can achieve versus we can dream for. I mean, so my home is super efficient, but I annoyed a lot of people to make it that way. When MAC or MI or anybody else is building homes on speculation or in volume, I'm not going to be there. The buyer might not be there. So how do we begin to change the whole sort of the stock, if you will? So I actually want to start back at you, Rick, and ask if Energy Star is an ideal target. And I think it probably is. It's certainly a good one to start with. Why is it that the code is so hard to bring to that?
It goes back to education again. I think the enforcement of code across the country, across the state, across the county, across each individual code inspector is different. And for them to understand something as complex as building a home and only have 10 to 15 minutes to assess what's right in that house, it doesn't give it enough time. So with Energy Star having approximately 18% market penetration throughout the country in 2012, what we found from our largest partners, Ryan Homes, KB Homes, some of the large national builders, once you change your habits, once you change every part of the process, it becomes repeatable. And so it's really just getting people to change is the biggest part. And for code, it's the worst house you can legally build. And for them to understand how to get to Energy Star or get to code, it's a tough process. So I don't know if I really answered your question with that one, but I'll pass it on.
Yeah, Mac, what do you think about inspectors and codes? And
I'd like to sort of tag on to
Please.
more of the original question. And for anybody that's run a business in here, I think anybody knows you really set your business up for what the public wants you to do within that business. And what we found is that right after we got done building Scott's house, which was about 10 years ago, which was when the Energy Star thing sort of was in its infancy for homes. But as it started to get going a little bit more, we didn't have a lot of calling for people coming to us saying, hey, we want a more energy efficient home. So we took the approach that if we go out there and sort of market ourselves as that energy efficient builder, that people would come to us who have that type of mindset. And we found that works very well, but we still have not found that there's enough of the public to constantly demand that. So it's a good thing to have in our toolbox, but still the majority of our clients are still wanting, let's talk about cabinets and flooring and countertops as opposed to how energy efficient we can make our homes. So one of the things I'd like to see is with what the federal government did with an MPG approach, is that now everybody, I think more so now than ever, is looking at car fuel efficiency, and the bottom line is at MPG all the time. So if we can start pushing that, what in my business is called a HERS score, which I'd be sort of curious to see how many people are familiar with that, as opposed to the MPG moniker that the federal government's put on for the auto industry. If that can be more publicized, and then people come to builders like me and say, hey, what are your average HERS scores? And as we start to be more competitive within our industry on those HERS scores, then I think that's naturally going to promote a lot of energy efficiency in the building community.
I'm going to change the question up for you a bit now based on Mac's input. What if all the homes had the EPA sticker on them or the HERS score sticker on them? What if you mentioned it would be good if lenders could or were allowed to. What if they were required to? You go buy your washer and dryer at Lowe's, it has to have that sticker on it. It tells me what it's going to cost to operate. Whether you use it to buy or not, I don't know. But what if it had to be a component in the valuation from both the mortgage, from the rater, as well as, if I'm a secondary seller, if I want to sell my house, shouldn't I be able to include, or shouldn't I be required to include that rating that Mac just talked about, whether it's HERS or something that's a little sexier than HERS? I don't know, but.
Well, a rating the nice part of a rating is everybody in the industry, which is the home rating industry, is required to rate the house the exact same way. So there's a consistency that's allowed within our industry that it will essentially allow a homeowner to evaluate the real cost of operating that home and owning that home. So having a requirement, it's no different really than the auto industry. I mean, it is required by law that the mileage per gallon is posted on the vehicle, and that you can make that purchasing decision not only by the cost of the car itself, but the operating cost. And I think just recently, not too long ago, actually one of the manufacturers got in a lot of hot water because their house actually didn't, or their car didn't actually perform at the stated miles per gallon. So the homeowner should have that information available to them to make a good financial decision for their life. And most of us are, you know, I know years ago, I think the average turnover of a house was 7 years, but we know now that that's extended out again. Most people are probably living in a house somewhere around 20 years, and the utility cost is a significant part of that. So why shouldn't we be allowed to have that information and have a very tangible way of looking at it and evaluating the true cost of owning that home?
Max, so if these homes are rated, and to use the automaker analogy without mentioning the name of the automaker, that didn't perform to their rating, can I get a performance guarantee on my house?
You know, I've got to dovetail into that and go on to Randy's conversation about that. We had been talking about that in our company to do that guarantee, and we've been kicking that around a little bit. The dilemma comes with that is because in a home there's so many, I'm sure most people out here own homes, there's so many moving parts within that home. Granted, there's a lot of moving parts in a car too. But where you set your thermostat, how much TV do you watch? There's a lot of things like that. So I like the guarantee idea, but the concern, again, from a business owner is, in our sue-happy society, is you offer somebody a guarantee, and all of a sudden somebody comes back and says, hey, your house isn't performing as how you guaranteed me it would perform. Then, you know, we've kicked around this idea quite a bit. Then, you know, do you go back and say, okay, you've got to somehow monitor that for a month worth of data for gas bills, electric bills, and how do you do that monitoring process while you got a family living in there short of moving in and living with them? So I like the guarantee idea. I think it's going to be challenging, though. It's going to have to be qualified a lot of different ways in order to set that guarantee out there. We haven't figured out a way to do that yet.
There's a relatively simple way to approach it, which is using a BTU calculation. You can baseline a house, so you can actually find out what is being used by just the heating and cooling components of the house. Easy way to think of it is you go in the summertime, you know how much your electric cost goes up in the summer. That's related to your air conditioning, most likely, because your normal operating habits are linear. And then in the wintertime, you know how much your gas goes up over your water heating. So there are ways to create baselines that will allow an industry to actually promote and basically guarantee usage. I don't know how many of you, I have teenagers, and TV stays on, the lights stay on, they take 4-hour showers. You know, we do want to take all that out because the warranty group does not want to be on the hook for your kids' habits, but they can find a way to guarantee utility costs.
What if we played a little, mixed a few industries here, used a little bit of the insurance industry, what they're doing in the automotive world, I'm not advocating Big Brother plugging into my house, but, if you'll let the insurance company watch your behavior, they'll give you a better rate. You can benchmark a house with a blower door test. What if you just could guarantee a blower door consistency, through some performance? A programmable thermostats these days will track all of that. At Ohio State, we had a company come in and demo a product for us that they've designed the thermostat to be just for the contractor. So the customer uses it like a regular thermostat, but the reporting goes back to the contractor. So the contractor knows how it's operating and can make the service call it raised all kinds of issues, you know, that a university might think about, but it also it piqued our interest. So wait a minute, now you can actually watch the performance of a home, and could you somehow, somewhere get to that kind of blend of technology and behavior to at least say this house is still airtight. You know, we used to put, you know, just bad insulation in, and you thought you got R19, and then it settled in your wall cavity in 6 months, and you didn't have R19 anymore. Is there a fix there? Maybe?
We do have some of our program builders throughout the country, you know, some of the larger builders have started asking their customers if they can track their data. And at the end of the process and say, I want to track your house and how you use it for 2 years. They have technology now where they're able to control their lights and their locks on their doors and the thermostat from their smartphone when they're on vacation. So they're taking all of that data that they're giving to the builder. The builder is hoping to use that in the future to create the guarantee program for himself. There's also an insurance company that has just started guaranteeing utility bills for homes that have been rated on the HERS index. So the market is starting to come out that way, which is really great to see. So it's getting there. Again, it's a supply and demand thing. You know, that's why I want it to be sexy. You can't say blow her door to my wife. She doesn't care, right? But she would rather have the granite countertop. So I mean, that's where the issue comes in.
Supply and demand. Is it does the industry need to drive the demand, or do they need to wait for the demand?
I think the industry, in the new homes construction industry, which is 3% of all houses purchased is a new home, and if you're buying that for 20 years, the ability to drill down and market to that segment is really difficult. And so you don't know who your buyer is all the time. But what you do know is how you can differentiate yourself from the competitors. And so by building, I think how most of the programs work throughout the country, when utilities put up programs for Energy Star homes, and that's where most of our homes come from on the national level, is because utilities will incentivize them, and they'll be able to claim the savings associated with that house. 99% of the programs give money to the builders to change their practices. None of them are giving general awareness marketing campaign dollars to try and convince buyers to purchase an Energy Star home.
To that point, I was on the Green Building Committee with the local BIA here, and we started that about 6 or so years ago. And at that point, the International Association of Home Builders came out with a green building program. And when that came out and we started the committee on the local level, we probably had 100 people, builders, that were very interested in the program because everybody thought, oh, this is the way it's going to go. And at that point, you know, the economy was in the tank, and we were all looking for ways to, any way that we could grasp onto that would give us a competitive advantage. So we had just a ton of people that were interested in it. There was a test that you could take to get certified as a green builder, and a lot of the people went ahead and did that, and we thought it was great, we're on the right track. Well, a couple of years later, as the economy started to come back, that group basically disbanded because there was very little interest in it at all, and it was driven by the consumer not being interested in green building. So then we totally changed the focus of green building and went towards just energy efficiency, which we found to be a lot, at least more sexy than green building, about you know, recycling and doing different things like that within your home. Because you can put a tangible number to it, as companies like Randy's do all the time for us, and we try to push that quite a bit without getting into the guarantee. But I thought it was interesting that you know, that fell off so much, and the group has been disbanded just because of a lack of interest out there. And we've, again, within our company, we've done quite a bit to promote it from a more marketability standpoint for just our company, but from a large standpoint, there still is not a lot of interest from the consumer yet. Scott was standing, and some other people that we've built for that come to us and say, we really want this energy efficient home. And that goes back to my other point I was making. So it'd be nice if there was a more promotion of a HERS score or something else that would drive that consumer to the people that are actually contracting to do the work out there.
Yeah, it has to, at the end of the day, it has to be a value proposition for the builder. I mean, they're in business to make money. We all hopefully understand that. Otherwise, they're not going to be around very long. But, you know, at the same time, you don't know what you don't know. And so we've got a lot of people out there that don't have the base knowledge or the resources in front of them. And I think that's where the Energy Star program is really serving a purpose, because I think most of us now, when we go to one of our local big box stores or, you know, any other place to buy an appliance, you probably look to see if it's Energy Star rated. Why do you do that? You don't really understand what it means. I mean, you don't. It's better than something that doesn't have the label on it. So at the very least, the Energy Star program at this point is out there and educating the public and bringing to the forefront that there is a way to create an energy efficient home and have comfort that you're making a better decision than you would have without all the, I guess, the nuts and bolts of it and understanding every part of it. At least you know that there's a governmental program that is out there that's certifying this product.
Let me toss it a little different, and I wish we actually had a lender up here now that I think about it, but you know, 40% of the nation's energy goes to buildings. Of that 40%, 60% goes to residential homes. The housing stock is, in fact, getting more energy efficient, but the energy usage for the housing stock is growing at the same time. So do I use more energy because I know my home's more efficient? So, you know, it's going to cost, I can spend the same and use more. Is there something that we can do as an industry, as educators, or is this just a fact of life that we have more, you know, everything has a plug and we're going to plug it in, and if it doesn't, we're going to add a plug and plug it in somehow. Because the trend on energy devoted to homes is up, even though the efficiency of the home is also up.
I've seen, you know, the smart tools that are out there now are really starting to create a usage awareness. You'll see now thermostats that actually are smart tools where they're telling you, and they're beeping a red light or something at you saying, hey, you're using way too much electricity right now. They're also telling you when your prime time would be to use electricity, because there's a lot of energy programs now. I know the electric utilities are, if you run your washing machine after 10 p.m., you're going to get a lower rate. So there are ways to kind of with our smartphone culture now to put things
I have to plug in.
that you put in front of people that really drive, I think, their behavior.
I think another misleading of that, you know, why are these new, more efficient houses using more energy? Growing up, I lived in a 3-bedroom house. I shared a room with my sister, and there was 1,400 square feet. And now my house is 2,500 square feet that I built, you know, and so even though the house that I built in 2006 is so much more efficient than the house that I grew up in that was built in 1950, it's almost twice the size. So there's also that. It's not just, you know, I'm paying to heat and cool all that space. So yes, it's more efficient, but I'm also living a you know, grandiose lifestyle by having such a large house.
Yeah, without a doubt. The DOE has updated what the average home size is. It's now 2,100 square feet. Updated the average energy use is now, it used to be 880 kilowatt hours. It's now 1,000 kilowatt hours a month. So that's sort of where the premise that we're going up on both directions is interesting. Mac, are the homes still growing that you're building, or are people paring down? Or?
We've found the homes are still growing. You know, with the demographic a little bit changing with the baby boomer generation, which I was on the tail end of that, just starting to downsize more. We're seeing some more of that, but we do about 25 homes a year, so we're not massive, but as the custom home builder game goes, we're a larger custom home builder in the city. And our bread and butter is still the family, the move-up buyer that's got a couple of kids and they want to move from their 2,500 square foot house to their 3,200 square foot house. And they want the extra bedroom and a home theater that's down in the basement. So we're still finding that the trend is moving upward. Now, as we get more baby boomers wanting to downsize, that could change, but I'm still finding the trend is moving upward into that 3,400 square foot home.
I'm going to throw it to questions here in 1 second, but I'm going to require some audience participation for this sort of last round of questioning. We're going to assume that this is a self-selected audience. You all care about this topic, or you know something about it, so you decided to come to the forum today, or maybe you just wanted a good lunch, so I'm going to ask you to participate anyway. How many of you think your home is more efficient than average? Okay, let's call that about a quarter. One follow-up question, how many of you have a programmable thermostat on your wall? Not that you use it, but have one.
Or know how to use it.
All right, so are we practicing what we preach? If you walk into a Home Depot, your choices for programmable thermostats, I'm just going to pick this one technology because it's easy to put your head around, 100 different varieties. $20 programmable, $250 programmable. Completely automated, self-learning to, you need a computer engineering degree to program. Do we use it? Are we practicing what we preach? I'm going to ask you personally. Do you have it on your home? Are you using it?
I do, and I don't. It's on there, and it's programmed, and I go into the room, and 50% of the time, one of my family members has overrode it to constant. So I do, but I don't.
Mac?
Yeah, I'd like to take on to that. I do. It is programmed, but I need to figure out how to lock it down because I have kids also, and they will figure out how to go in and override it back to constant as opposed to locking it down. And even when we have friendly debates about, hey, you guys are the up-and-coming generation, come on, let's save some energy. Yeah, but I'm cold right now. Yeah. So yeah, that's a very good point. And we've had some deep discussions about that to get them thinking a little bit about that. So I'd like to think I'm having some influence on them.
All right, Rick, make this panel look a little bit better. Let's say you do and you do.
I do and I do.
Excellent, excellent.
My kids are 4 and 2, so they can't touch the thermostat yet. And we have blankets for those cold nights. So,
Yeah, a few years back, we had a campaign on campus, shower in the dark and wear a sweater. Oddly enough, we studied our demographic here. Shower in the dark and wear a sweater. We actually saw an appreciable difference in the dormitory meters. So, but then as soon as the campaign was over, meters went back up. So there's a notion here that we as individuals with our kids, our grandkids, somewhere we know what we should be preaching, but we're probably not teaching it because we're not practicing it.
Scott, I think one of the things also is we just gave the impression that conservation is uncomfortable. Didn't we say cold, cold, cold? I think we said that 3 times. That's not really what it's about. So, making that statement is because we don't have our thermostat set up to the right cycle for our living environment. So I don't want to give the impression that because energy conservation is uncomfortable. It can be comfortable, and it can just be adjusted to our lifestyle to make it line up. So
that's a great point, Randy. And we could just discuss the cost at another whole forum. The reality is energy conservation only works if it's within a lifestyle that we want it. So, you've got to be able to be at 72 degrees or 78 degrees or whatever the temperature is you want and do it efficiently. It's tradition at the forum that we get some participation, so I'm going to throw it out to the audience, and we will take it from there. Give us your best questions.
Gentlemen, hi. Andy Campbell, thank you for being here today. Maybe an elementary question, but I'm wondering, what is the HER? What are some things that affect it as far as being able, I guess, to raise it or lower it? And can you give us some examples of, numbers that provide some scale, like the EPA, for instance, 37 miles per gallon? Or
I'll start. The HERS score is the Home Energy Rating System score. So that is a system that was designed by actually the EPA in conjunction with the Department of Energy. They approved a software methodology that is used by raters. And what it does is basically, like you said, we're able to create a scoring system that allows you to evaluate against another unit. The score works from 100 to 0, and basically a score that is closer to 0 is closer to a zero energy use home. So as you move to 0, the closer you get. So when you hear a HERS score, the lower the HERS score, the closer you are to using 0 energy in the home. The reason 0 was the bottom of the score is that there's a challenge. The Department of Energy has put out a challenge for the 2030 homes. They want all homes to be 0 energy use homes. So there's a challenge in place, but that's why that scale's in place. The average code home right now is probably somewhere in the neighborhood of a 76 on the score, somewhere in that area. And just a few years ago, it was around an 85 for the 2006 code, so it has improved. But somebody that's building in a efficient home right now, taking a lot of extra concern like Mac's company, you're going to see 40s in the kind of the average range of those homes, somewhere in the low 40s to mid 40s. And someone that adds solar or passive add back type product will be down in the high 20s to mid 30s.
And to impact that score, what we're talking about is increasing insulation. So Mac building with 2x6 walls is not the norm. Most builders build by 2x4 walls because it's cheaper. But to have more insulation in there helps decrease the score. Also having high efficient furnaces, high efficient air conditioners, building a really tight house so that you don't have drafts and leaks, using energy efficient light bulbs throughout. All of these things help impact the score that the house gets and the energy usage from the home.
Hi, thank you. My name is John McKnight, and I work for Rife's Auto Body. And in the automotive industry, we deal with a lot of hybrid automobiles, some of which actually produce some of their own electricity. Off the clock, I spend a lot of time on sailboats, and sailboats produce a lot of electricity themselves. Solar panels, and some of them have wind generators on them, or generators that capture the motion of the water underneath the boat to produce electricity for the systems on board. Seems like homes are kind of missing out on that. Why aren't homes capturing energy that's there and putting it into the home system? It seems like that would just go hand in hand with creating an energy efficient home. The movement of water through the downspouts in the home can be captured to produce energy. With today's technology, even small solar or small wind panels can produce enough electricity to make a difference. The home's electrical system could be easily wired in sort of a reverse fashion so that you can plug a treadmill into the wall. The energy generated by the treadmill or the bicycle creates energy that goes into the home's electrical system. Is that being done? And if not, why not?
Yeah, I think the short answer is, being the builder up here, is because those products just aren't out there and easily available to us. I'd like to talk to you after the show. Maybe we can come up with something that's economical to do. I think there would be some calling for it if they were out there. I know our company would definitely promote them, and we do a fairly good search on different products that come out each year, and they're just not out there. And why they're not being developed is a very good question. I can't answer that, but as someone who builds 25 homes a year in Columbus, we would promote something like that. We just can't get our hands on that type of material or that type of product that would perform that type of function.
One of the other things that's happening right now is the solar panels, for example. Most subdivisions have deed restrictions that don't allow for it. So for the homeowner to actually go and purchase these and install them, they have to actually go and lobby their local municipality. And it's becoming a little more politically popular now to go ahead and approve them, but it hasn't been in the past. So there's been a lot of resistance to it also. And then finally, the price point. Right now, almost all solar is subsidized by the federal government. So it's not economical unless you can get a tax credit of some sort to justify it from a cost standpoint.
I'd like to just tag on to that a little bit from what Randy was saying. A couple of years ago, we were going to do a spec. A spec, and for those of you who don't know that, means we build a speculative house, put it on the market, and see if it sells. And the spec we were going to do was going to be a zero energy home. And we thought it'd be really cool because we promote energy efficiency so much, and with Energy Star certification we get. And we drew up plans. We were really going to do that. We planned on putting solar panels on it to get that zero energy effect to be able to do that. We thought it'd be a great way to get some publicity about this movement and about our company in general. And one of the first things I did is I went over to the HOA in the subdivision that we were going to build it in, and I was sitting in front of the 6 HOA committee members, and we had drawn the solar panels, and the first thing they said, well, what's that? You know, I was explaining to them, well, that's the whole thing. That's what the panels, that's what this whole concept is all about. We don't want that in our neighborhood. That looks wrong. We're up in the Powell area. I'm not going to get into which subdivision. But we like all that. We like the beige-colored house, the black or brown shingles, and that's what we're going to find is acceptable, and we're not going to look outside that box. And I was really frustrated with that, and I really wanted to push the issue a lot more, and as I began, it was just a losing battle. And I thought, boy, if I have to fight this battle with just the homeowners association, let alone getting it in there, I sort of gave up on the whole idea just because I got shot down that quickly with it. And to Randy's point, it would have, I think we could have got grants. We have solar panels on our office building, and it was primarily, it was just about 90% funded by a grant that we had from Ohio. And where we would have gone with that cost-wise, I'm not sure, because it never came to fruition after I got shot down by the HOA.
And nationwide, there are hot spots for solar. So in Arizona, buying a new house in Arizona, you pretty much have a 2 kW solar panel with it. That's just an expectation there. And there are some technologies that Mac's using right now in terms of like geothermal heat. So that is using, you know, the energy that's already in the ground and helping make a really efficient house. So not as advanced as what you're saying, but there are some things that are starting to come to market that are being demanded more, you know, to help with the efficiency and be more efficient in that nature.
Do we have time for one more? Okay.
Hi, I'm Bill Lafayette. Thanks for being here. Thanks for a really great forum. Lots of us love living in historic houses. My house is 90 years old, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. There are the obvious retrofits that I could do, like blowing in insulation, the programmable thermostat that I would use, and that sort of thing. But are there kind of tips that you can give us for making an older house more efficient that maybe aren't quite as obvious?
I'm going to, moderator's prerogative, I'm going to step in, and I'm hoping that they agree with me. The first tip, call somebody to do a blower door test. See, it doesn't matter what your home is, seal it. Before you blow an insulation, find the holes. If your house was built in the 20s, I guarantee you it's got them. If your house was built 20 days ago, I guarantee you it's got them. Find the holes, do a blower door test, then move from there. Your house is tight, then you can seal the ducts if you've got ducts. If you don't, then you move up mini ducts or whatever, but seal the home. It's the least best cost you're going to spend. There's no point in conditioning your space if you've got a hole in your wall.
A blower door test is simply pressurizing the home, and it simulates a 22-mile-an-hour direct wind on the house and allows you to find the holes.
You want help with that? So, an organization like Cornerstone, like Columbia Gas, like AEP, all of those organizations can set you up with a home audit and a blower door test. And if they can't, call Ohio State and we will do it. We will find somebody to do it for you. It is the first best thing to do.
Just to piggyback on that a little bit as well, I get asked that question all the time by friends and family members, and I tell them, buy a case of caulk and just go around the house, doors, windows. That's the easiest, simplest thing to do, is just start caulking all the little gaps and stuff that you see. It's the most economical thing to do, and probably the thing that's going to get you the quickest way to save on some of those cracks that you're going to find in your home. It's just around doors and windows.
Thank you. I'm Jane Scott with the Metropolitan Club. I am so glad my husband is not here right now, or I know what we would be doing this weekend. And it relates to my question. What's the best source for consumer information? For instance, I think we'd like to be more efficient, but I'm not sure I know the list to look for or exactly where to find it and who to trust, because, you know, obviously everybody has products to sell, and you want to have a reliable source of information. The other question is kind of the same. How do I know what the most efficient spot is on my thermostat for both heating and cooling? How do I know that I'm within an acceptable range that you know, it's time to put on a sweater, or it's, you know, time to get a fan or whatever?
Our website has always been good, but in probably the last 3 years, it's become almost one of the best just general sources. I mean, you go to that website and it says, are you a homeowner, are you a builder, are you a contractor, are you an appliance? And it will really tell you, and it gets down into, do you need somebody in your area? Okay, Midwest, Ohio, Columbus, and it will take you right there. DOE in general has a lot of information, but I'm going to use Rick's words. Columbus is amazing, actually. We don't have the sun, we don't have great wind, but we actually have a phenomenal amount of energy resource here in Ohio. With Columbia Gas, with AEP, with the number of efficient home builders, I mean, it's really remarkable how many home builders are energy efficient or even Energy Star in Central Ohio. So my advice is always, before you go to the contractor, go to your service providers. Go to people who you already know. Call your utility. If it's the co-op, call them. They will have an answer for you. I would say call me, but I already said that, so that joke is over. But yeah, call the university. It's our job as a land grant to help you find where that place is. I know these two organizations well, but I can't plug them, but they're here for a reason. So the resources here in Central Ohio are actually pretty phenomenal.
As for your thermostat, so what you can do is don't turn it off during the day. Set it 3 degrees warmer in the summer and 3 degrees cooler in the winter while you're out of the house. What that will do is it will have a higher set point for you, so you're not going to be cooling the house, but it will also make sure you don't run your air conditioner too long. In many utilities, there's peak demand laws where they have to charge more. So if you're not running your AC during 2 to 7 p.m. in the summer, or running it less, that's going to help your bill. So that would be my suggestion in terms of just a 3-degree change either side when you're not there.
I want to thank our panelists. I know we ran a little long. Everybody loves this topic. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over.
Thank you, Scott. I certainly hope you enjoyed today's forum as much as I did. Once more, please thank our sponsors, AEP, Battelle, Columbia Gas, our forum partner, OSU Office of Energy and Environment. Let's also thank our speakers, Rick Gazica, Mac Roberts, Randy Hall, Scott Potter. And again, thank you all for being here. Have a great afternoon, a great weekend. We're adjourned.